And welcome to the Black Psychologist Podcast, also known as the eighth wonder of the world. We're back like we never left. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcast, and thanks for watching us on YouTube. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Give us 5 stars. Anything less than 5 stars will be uncivilized. I am one half of your humble and gracious host, Dr. Kyle Osborne. He is I, and I am him. And of course, you all know I'm never flying this aircraft by myself. I'm here with the one and only. He's saving lives every single day. New Jersey's finest, the illustrious Dr. Jason Coleman. What's going on, good brother?
What's going on, man? Chilling. We out here. The weather's changing, man. We got this fall weather, so I don't know whether you want to wear a hat or wear shorts, but we chilling now. We good. What's up with
It's
you?
that it's that hoodie weather, man. It's that hoodie
Yeah, that's
weather.
the
This
best.
is this is
Listen, that's the
it.
best part of it is that when it finally, turns in a week or two, you could throw on those light jackets and I always like to get me a new pair of Timberlands every year, man.
Oh
So
yeah, you gotta come out with the fresh butters.
yeah, it's right. You know what it is. Everybody
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
understand, but that's what.
Nah, you know what time it is, brother. You know what I mean?
But
All
it's
right.
it's fall, man. So good, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things to look forward to. We got playoffs, we got football, we got basketball, baseball. So we sports people, so we looking forward to it, and always got good shows, even if you're not into sports. Or new shows, new seasons come out in the fall. So good.
Oh yeah, absolutely, brother. It's that time of season, and you know, self care. Self care is big this time of season with the sports. Now, this is it's good, fun stress because we'll each one of our teams are doing their own thing, but it's early, so that's why you said we're gonna focus on baseball and check
Good.
out some of these shows that are on. But it's also school season, brother. September is of course associated with kids going back to school up here, especially in the Northeast. And a new survey came out, right? According to the University of Michigan, Children's Hospital, a national poll on children's health. It said 1 in 5 parents say that their child, and this is talking about children ages 6 to 12. It says that
Okay.
it reported that 1 in 5 parents say that their child has no friends or not enough friends, and that 90% of parents believe that their child would like to make new friends. And so one of those 5 parents said that shyness or being socially awkward has gotten in the way of their child's friend making efforts. So that was a pretty high number. I didn't expect that number to be as high um, as it reported. So what would your thoughts about this? I know Jay, you work with children. So what was your takeaway?
Listen, I thought this was a real interesting article, right? And coupled like going along with like another article. I don't know if I think we talked about it when they were talking about like adolescent and teenage boys, like their interests and how they're online a lot, right?
Right, right, right.
So kind of going along with this, um, it- number one is not surprising to me. I thought it was real interesting, but it's not surprising to me. What I'll say is you got to look at the numbers that kind of they came up with. And obviously these are just surveys, but gives you a good sense of how like parents and people are feeling, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be exact because we're getting a feel. So they're talking about like 20% of parents said that socially awkward is a factor, right? And I thought that was real interesting because like in my work, bro, like what I used to see, like when we're talking about like 10 years ago, is used to see like a lot of boys and teenagers with like anger issues, right? And like,
Hmm.
and I'm not saying kids aren't angry anymore, but what I mean is like you would always like 9 out of 10 of your referrals for boys would be like frustration and outward aggression towards other people, right? And now it's almost like 7 out of 10 are anxiety, and it's social
Hmm.
anxiety, and it's problems with friends, social skills, families, processing their emotions. And I'm not the person that always just points at and says, listen, they're on social media too much, but it does have an impact in terms of we are kind of seeing the result of kids that don't necessarily haven't um developed their social skills in that way in terms of like being outside for the summers and going to camps and interacting with people. So
Mhm.
that's the part I thought was interesting. And I mean, I got something else, but what did you think?
So I kind of saw it kind of from that maybe the opposite end of the spectrum. Like I looked at it like, well, I think Friends looks very different, or the friendship and the social aspect looks very different than I think it used to, right, for parents at this day and age. I think kind of due to like the social media aspect, I think kind of due to location. I don't think it's a situation. I mean, depending on the neighborhood that you and your family, your kids live in, I don't think it's as much as the kids are going out and playing, right? I don't think there's a situation like where kids, everybody in the neighborhood gets on their bikes and they're going out and they're riding all over the place and getting into things. I think it's a little different. So I think parents might be looking at and kind of judging their idea of what friendship and what a friend group should look like based off of what they grew up. I think it's very different now, just because the landscape is very different. So I think not to say that yeah, like their concern isn't valid that they're that they think that their child doesn't have any friends. I just think it looks a little different, right? Like I don't know if it's the same situation where the kids are going to be going out and they're going to be going in groups to go do things how like kind of how we grew up a little bit. So I think maybe their concept or maybe their perception needs to kind of maybe be a little modified to kind of fit what it is now. Do you see what I mean? Like I just don't
I
think their kids are going out and
yo,
getting on their bikes and they're going out.
I do, but all right, this is and I used to think about it exactly that way, right? And you pull me back, right? Because you have a daughter, right? And I'm gonna pull a little bit on my personal experiences too, with my nieces and nephews. I used to think about it like that, and then I started thinking about them, right? And
Mm,
and I started thinking that, and just from like what I know about you and what you share, you probably will see some commonalities in what I'm saying. I started thinking like, no, they're not like that in the sense of they're totally into their phones, right? My nephew and nieces and them, right? But my niece still is a swimmer, right? She still was a member of the cheerleading team. My nephew still plays football. He plays baseball. My point is as an extension of that, they have like crazy social networks that are in person. They're
mm-hmm,
going to dinners. They're going to award dinner, ceremonies. They're going on trips together. You know what
mm-hmm.
I mean? They're part of different organizations, whether it's an academic one at school, right? So then I start thinking about it another way. I'm like, maybe the problem is, right? Maybe the problem is that not that social media, any of that is a problem, right? Because all of the things that we had are still around, parks, teams, all of that, right? And
Right,
my kids, my nephews are taking advantage of it. I know your daughter was involved with sports and different things, and you would expose her to different things. Maybe the difference is, right, that the kids that don't have the social skills and are not like sports kids, or because every kid's not going to be like that, now they have the
right,
option to stay home. So
right.
now they have the option to not go to the park because they can, play black ops and talk to some people and fulfill that need. Now, how satisfying is it? How long does it last? Are those going to be relationships that you take to college or middle school? Or now you can still come hang up the game and say, "Yeah, I got a friend." You
Yeah.
know what I mean? We played a game together. But are they really gonna, you understand where I'm getting at? Are they gonna really be able to formulate relationships like your child has? You know what I'm saying?
So
Like, I
what
don't
I think
know.
it is, it's I think it's more also where the parents' concern is the optics, right? So I don't think they see it as much because absolutely, like my daughter was in dance. She was in dance since she was 3 years old and had dance friends and traveled and club and all those different things. And then she
Yeah.
had tennis and then she had all the different things. And they actually did like they did things together. Like I remember taking her and her friends on play dates and all this stuff. The whole group from dance, right? What I think it is that I don't know if the parents are seeing them together as much because remember when we were young, like hanging out was the time that we had. It was either like after basketball practice, after football, baseball practice, and then at school. So we tried to spend as much time together because that was it. In addition to them being
Right, right,
together, like
right,
at dance or whatever, they got their phone, right?
right, right,
They
right,
got
right, right,
social
right,
media. So it's
right.
not like they can leave practice and be like, yo, I'm gonna connect with this person as soon as I get home. I'm on my phone. Like, bro, they would be on the phone in the car, not
Right.
saying anything, but they're talking to each other on the phone. You see what I mean?
Yo,
So that's what I think is like they've utilized social media where they don't have to be the physical component, doesn't have to be as frequent as it used to be with us. Because like when we was with us, like we only had that time with each other. Now they can they can hang out at school or at practice and then leave immediately and be in the car and still be talking to them, continuing the conversation that they just had in person on their phones.
I think that's a really good point because of the simple fact that when you said that, it made me think of like when I was a kid, the most annoying thing for my mother would be like picking me up from somebody's house because she knows gonna come to the door and be like, "Yo, can I stay for 30 minutes
Yeah,
or
right.
can
Can
I
you come
sleep
back? Can
over?"
I spend the night? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
Exactly.
now I'm sure parents get that way less because of what you said. It's like, yo, I you
Cool.
be in the car, you
FaceTime, live, everything, bro. It's just I'm
so
just
I
there. I'm not missing nothing.
yeah, that's a great point. I listen, man, like I said, like the real truth is probably right in the middle somewhere, you know. But I guess the point I was trying to make was there still are a lot of kids having the same experiences we had, and they just have have had enhanced it with social media.
Mm-hmm.
Now
You
you know what I'm saying? Like, um, and I'm sure it's also like with what you said as well. I'm certain of that. It's not. I don't even got to think about that.
Yeah,
So
I think it's something that parents, even if speaking from personal experience, like I think you really are you assuming that your kid doesn't have any friends? Like, is your kid telling you that, or are you just kind of assuming that, right? Like, did your kid say, "Hey,
that's
I don't,"
important.
because you don't see them, because sometimes you might have again, kind of like they're imposing kind of their perspective of how it was when they were younger. Or they may not just see like, oh, I never see Johnny. I never see Johnny coming out and talk to anybody. I never see him talking on the phone. Like you don't know. So I think it's better for you to have a conversation because you got to look at it like this, right? Like parents need to be very careful when supporting their kids and making friends because you have to really allow them to kind of do that on their own. Now, if you actually see them like really struggling, you never see them, even a teacher or somebody else brings it to your attention, I say step in. But you really got to maintain that balance of kind of like guidance and kind of encouragement. But you got to let your kid navigate those social situations kind of independently because the worst thing you could do is try to be like, come up to like little Johnny or Betty coming out of school and you're like, oh, hey, is that your friend? Like you just coming out, no, you look wild, right? Like
Right.
you're creating like social suicide for your kid. Like you gotta kind of let them, or at least kind of gauge the temperature. Like ask them, like, hey, how are you doing? Do you have friends? Are you such and such? And if the kid says, yeah, like, yeah, no, I do such and such, or I talk to so and so, we play Call of Duty online. Like you gotta let them have that. You gotta kind of let them take their word for it, or kind of like however they're gaining friends or associates or how whatever they call it. Cause you got to kind of let them do that, and then if there's a safety issue, of course you step in, right? Or if it's a
Right.
situation like, but you got to let them develop that because sometimes you might have some of these like over imposing parents that are like so worried because they don't see like their kid is as popular as they were or other different things. You got to
Yeah,
remember like
yeah.
each kid has a different temperament than the parent.
Now
So
that I think is crossing the line because I think like a large part of what you're describing is like a parent kind of like living through their kid or having an
right,
ideal perspective of like my kid should have this many friends or do this kind of sport or be considered cool or this way, and they're actually intervening in the relationships.
absolutely,
Now,
I've
I
seen it, bro.
do
I've seen that.
now I think that's wrong, but what I do think is that parents are like architects of their kids' social worlds, especially when they're kid young. So I do think as a parent, you have two responsibilities. Like one, to know the temperament of your kid and then to kind of like nurture that. So you can't really complain that your kid has no friends and no social skills if we're not talking about safety, but it's like you don't bring them around their cousins or anybody if they have them to socialize. You don't put
Hmm.
them in daycare to socialize with other kids. You understand what I'm saying? There's no, and I'm
Totally.
talking about within reason, right? There's no Cub Scouts, there's no Sunday school, there's no CCD, whatever your thing is. All of these things, there's no camp, right? All of these things that mentioning, like you have parents that are going to put their kids in soccer when they're 5. Those are going to be kids that are going to be developing friendships and relationships that they're going to have,
And
so
And
so
bro, I
you
did
don't
that. Like that was the
intervene,
main thing. Yeah, that I did that
but
because that was my same concern. Because I only have baby girl, so that was my concern growing up. Because I grew up with a brother, but it was like, yo, I don't want her to have like to be by herself and so on and so forth. So she had like her dance crew, right? Like she had her dance crew. She had her day ones. Put her in tennis. She had other different things. So kind of similar to what you're saying. Like I would see her like just talking to other kids, or I would see her hanging out and you would see them laugh. And then you, as the parent, like your job is nurturing, is talking to the other parents, right?
right,
Like I developed a relationship with the other parents. So then when birthdays and things came up, everybody was getting invited. And before you know it, she got a social network, right? Like
right.
it kind of gradually or organically comes together. But like you mentioned, as a parent, you gotta put them in different things.
It,
You got
it's
to. Like you just
it's
keeping
your
them at home
job to
as it is.
nurture though, and if we being honest, like we don't have to stay honest, but it doesn't stop there. Like it continues, like, uh, and we're let's not make it personal, but like yo, my nieces and nephews, your daughter, like they're successful for a reason because somebody architected that. Like I mean, they did the work, but it's not magic. Like you put them in position, and then you let them cook, but parents got to be actively involved. 12-year-olds shouldn't be telling you like, oh yeah, yeah, I don't want to be in no club. So, I'm gonna just hang out after school. You laughing because it wouldn't happen. You know what I'm saying? So, but anyway, man, like I think it's a good article because it kind of shines the light on kind of the anxiety and the social anxiety and stuff that we seeing.
Yeah, but you know what though, real quick, what I saw, especially when I was working inpatient and I was working on the adolescent units, something that I observed was that even when you took the phones away, because when you come inpatient, they get you're not allowed to have your phones and other different things, right? I
Yeah,
even saw the adolescents and the kids, like they kind of went through withdrawal for like the first 48 hours when they came in because it was like, oh, they phone and they were missing the
yeah,
world.
yeah.
But once they heard and saw like the other kids, like the other teenagers and stuff, like actually talking to, they really adjusted because they went
Oh
from
yeah.
being on their phone and stuff to now they're over there, they're playing card games, they're playing Uno, they're playing Skip-Bo, they're playing all these other different things. So once they kind of got past that initial adjustment period, they were able to like adjust back into, hey, we're having regular conversation, like in person type of stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
I've
know what I mean?
seen.
So the innate stuff comes in. But speaking of phones, right? All right, Jay. So imagine this, right? Imagine a world where your smartphone can detect how you're feeling, right? Like it can tell if you're feeling stressed and automatically suggest like a relaxation technique, or it could reach out to a virtual therapist that can provide like a personalized mental health support to you when it notices like subtle changes in like your emotional state, right? So this article is now reporting that there's an AI system that can not only recognize emotions, but it can also understand the complex interplay between emotions and personality traits, and that it can analyze video footage from your facial expressions and start to provide insights into both emotional and personality characteristics, brother. So pretty much what we're talking about is your phone is going to be able to start performing or reading your emotions and providing support to you. All right.
Yo, this was
That's what
I,
that
I
that's
thought
where
this
we're
was
at right now,
cool
bro.
and scary, but cool though.
Yeah.
Okay, but this is the thing, right? First, I was like, all right, it sounds like a little bit too far. It's gonna be, too big of an invasion. But then I started thinking, I'm like, we're already there. Like right now, like I got my tablet or I got my phone here, so I could be like, yo, hey Siri. Hmm? I don't know if you
There you go.
caught that, but she
I
just
caught
said,
it. It's
right.
on you. It's
So,
on you,
right. So my phone's not is not supposed to really even be on, right? So we got that, number one. Two, we know that the stuff that we type in on Google or even talk about pops up on our Instagram. So we all know that, right? Um, Now we got within the last 2 years, all of these phones, Google, all of these systems have AI now, right? I'm reading about the capabilities like on your phone, the ones that have the new AI capabilities, they're gonna be able to go through your email, your pictures, your text messages, and tell you what an average like Monday is gonna be like, right? So we're already there. You know what I
bro.
mean? So um, and think about it, right? You've seen those commercials where you can go buy one of those rings and it takes your blood pressure. It tells you if you got enough sleep. It tells you if you walk enough, right? So if you integrate all of those things, you can't see your iPhone. We already have the Calm app. You can't see your iPhone sending you a text message like, yo, you didn't get enough sleep, your blood pressure's up. Maybe you should call your doctor or rest or exercise more. Eh,
Bro, listen,
Bro,
I'm waiting for my phone to one day just be like, "What's wrong, Kyle?"
right.
You know what I mean? Like, you haven't done such and such today. You want to know why, bro? Because our phones are one huge data collection device. That's all it does, bro. Like,
Right.
it's we got the face joint, like, bro, you can open your phone with your face, right? So it's already got the biometric scan where it can catch your move. So whether it can read whether you smiling, laughing, crying, whatever the case is, right? So it's gonna get that. The algorithm, like you just mentioned, are collecting information as far as like what movies you like, what songs you listening to, you see what I mean? It's reading your mood, like all the different things. Like it's like you said, if it's measuring like your blood pressure, so it can obviously it can say when your blood pressure is starting to spike because you might be upset about something. Like it's collecting all of this information, bro. Like it just is
All
what
of
it.
that,
And
bro.
I'm not going towards like down the road of the putting the tinfoil hat on, but it just is what it is. Like it's to the point where it's collecting all of this information about us, and then yeah, eventually it's just gonna be like, hey, Kyle, notice that you're feeling down, bro. How about these such and such? How about these how about
It's
we engage in some diaphragmatic breathing? Like that's what it is, man. Like
it, but that's basically what they're saying, and it's coming,
yeah,
bro. Don't you
it
think it's
is.
time that maybe it's time that you schedule a session with Dr. Kyle?
Yeah,
We're getting
that's
there,
that's
like
where we're
we're
at.
going there, and like, yo, is that a bad thing? Like,
I mean,
um,
it's concerning when you think about the intrusive aspect of it.
no, but you
But
should be
I
able
mean,
to turn it off and on and off, right?
is the phone really ever off? Is the
I
phone really
I
ever off?
would
Even if you turn
like
your
to
phone off,
think
is it
that
really
there's a
off?
feature that I can turn Siri off, right?
Yeah, okay. You keep
Even
thinking
it's
that.
like all them little options, as long as they keep giving you options where it's like, yo, do you want this to track while you use this app? No. As long as you have that option, you should be fine. Well,
Hey
I
man,
mean, I don't know.
it's a peace of mind, right? We believe and hope that if we turn our phone off or we go on airplane mode or whatever, do not disturb or whatever setting we want to put it on, that it's it's not continuing to listen to us or whatever the case is. But I mean, if the smartphone wouldn't be a smartphone if we just put it on airplane mode or whatever, do not disturb, and it's not doing what it's supposed to do, right? I
No,
mean,
you're
look,
right
here's
about
the
that.
thing. I see the benefits of it, like in healthcare. Like if we're talking about all this information that is gathering on us can like expedite a mental health diagnosis or treatment, right? So if we could take this phone into an evaluation or when we see our PCP or when we see our psychologist or psychiatrist, right? And they're asking those screener questions. How long you been feeling like this? Or the days X, Y, and Z. And then your phone could be like, it's recording there. Oh, he was like this on such and such a day. His blood pressure was low or was high, or noticed that he was more restless, or whatever the case is, right? Yeah, if it can help out as far as that information, so maybe you can get an appropriate mental health diagnosis because it's kind of like keeping track of things, sure. And it can offer maybe something that might be beneficial, like, oh, based off of Kyle's history, he likes such and such music. So maybe we can incorporate some type of musical intervention or therapeutic, what, blah, 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 right? Something of that nature. So, or in education, right? If it's a situation where it can help teachers identify kids that are struggling, right, with a certain
Mhm.
particular area of subject and such, right? So it can be very beneficial in regards to that aspect, right? It could be very, it's an assistant, right? That's really what AI is supposed to be. It's supposed to be like this phenomenal assistant related platform, that's going to help us, further along whatever goals that we're trying to accomplish. But yeah, it's scary, bro. Like it's very scary when you think about
The-
it. Like what this collection aspect of it.
I'll give you an idea, and I know somebody's gonna steal it and make billions of dollars.
Hey man, make sure this is the verbal consent right here of Dr. J's IP. So don't y'all try to get off on anything.
What about, would you be okay with an AI assisted app, right, that monitors your kids' like text messages or or internet use, whatever, and whatever you put in there, if it's language, if it's whatever it is, if that subject matter comes up, they send you an alert as the parent, or it alerts you, or
Yeah.
it blocks the kid, whatever. How much would you pay a month for that? Five, three
Uh,
dollars?
I mean, I would totally pay for that. I mean, I know my kid wouldn't be happy about that, but yeah, I would totally be happy. That's an is it intrusive? Totally. Like, you know what I
That's the
mean? It's
whole point. It's
intrusive.
the whole
But when
point.
it comes to your kid, as far as like, hey, let me make sure that my kid is not getting into anything or like more in tune to things, like, yeah, from a
I'm
monitoring standpoint, sure. Is it too much? Probably.
I
But yeah,
mean,
I would sign up for that in a heartbeat, bro.
yo, maybe it is too much, but I'm looking at it from the standpoint of, if something like that, and just bear with me because we're gonna go overboard first and then pull back. But if something like that was mandatory for everybody under 18, right?
Hmm.
Then we know that for these situations where you got kids in group chats that are talking about they're gonna harm themselves and making these statements and this and that, and
Yeah.
nobody really does nothing because either they don't know what to do or they don't care or whatever the case may be. But like we may be in a situation where we essentially don't have that.
I
You
mean,
know, you know what I mean?
it could
Like,
definitely reduce things. I think so. I think it could
yeah.
definitely reduce. Yeah, absolutely.
So, we may get to a point where some of these things we may figure out a way to use them usefully, but of course, obviously there's gonna be there's gonna be somebody who figures out a way to kind of use it to figure out what passwords you use or this and that, right?
Sure.
There's always people that are gonna take it left, but I'm
Yeah.
just trying to think of how somebody in our field might use something like that
No,
appropriately.
listen, sign me up for anything that gives me more information about my kids so I can monitor more closely. I'm going to use that word. Now, if it comes to the point where this thing might be putting me out of work, nah, I'm not in favor of that at all. But
Nah, nah.
but if it's a situation where again where it can expedite getting someone treatment services, or if it's like, hey, yeah, like you mentioned earlier, hey, I've been noticing, blah 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 blah, your mood has been low, and all these other different things. Yeah, you may need to go see Dr. J. You need to go see Dr. Kyle. Yeah, no, totally. Like I feel like, yeah, if it can expedite and kind of cut through, or it can do whatever AI does and get services quicker to somebody, I'm totally on board with that.
Yo, because think about it. Like I'm not trying to be funny. Think about how useful it could be with like your patients, right? If you had a health app where like was patients with certain risk or certain amount of risk, and they would agree to it, right? Where you can click that on and it monitors their text messages and monitors what they look at, blah 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 blah. So not like you're looking at everything they're looking at, but if these things come up, right? You have a person that's searching self-harm, or
Mm-hmm.
if they're texting people about harming themselves or thoughts of, then not only do you get an alert so that you're aware, right, of the activity, but you can
No, like
implement whatever plan. So it could,
I
it
think
could, you know,
I know. I
but
think that would be great, even in the sense because, like, say, with some of my patients that get discharged, like our hospital gives some patients cell phones, right? They give them a full, it's free for the year, a whole cell phone, right?
damn.
Like I feel like incorporating. software like that on their phone, it is something that it's incorporating, or like whatever treatment goals and things that we had at the hospital. And then if you have a software like that that's able to communicate for like their PAC team, right? Or like their social work, or whoever out there, they're like their community resources. So I think that that would be helpful in reducing readmission,
Like,
right?
hey,
Because then you can catch it like
this person might be struggling. They might need a check-in. They might, so
absolutely. This person hasn't been taking the
like because
medication, or we
bro,
noticed that, like all these other different things, bro.
like
Like it could
this
work.
might end up being something that's useful for like in services, residential, like like in type
Hmm.
of program type of thing. So who knows,
Yeah.
man? Who knows? You know?
No, I'm with it. Like I think that that could really cut down on risk, because you also got to look at it even with kids, right? What do kids? No, not to outdate myself, but like this generation and ongoing and advanced generations, what do, right, bro? Like they put all of their feelings and thoughts and emotions on social media because they're looking
Oh
for
yeah.
validation and getting these digital hugs. What if it's a situation where, again, something goes off to your parent or to the guardian or whoever, like, hey, your kid was reporting such and such, right? And it gets back to you, so it's like, cool, gets them in the loop. Like whatever is able to reduce risk and get in front of a situation before it becomes more heightened or more severe, I'm on board with. Sign
I
me up.
agree, man.
5.99 a month. I'm good with
That's
it.
crazy.
Speaking of new fads and new trending things in the news, right? All right. I don't want to call Ozempic a fad, but let's take it off, right? All right. So Ozempic is back in the news. All right. The wonder drug that is originally meant to treat diabetes has now become, as most people know, a very popular weight loss intervention, as we'll call it. However, it's now being cited with a growing complaints from individuals stating that it is causing anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideation. This has now become known as the Ozempic personality. Um, yeah, Jay, I would love to say that I'm, surprised, but I'm not. Um, so we have to look at it, right? Ozempic, which is a popular treatment like Weg Wegovy or whatever the other weight loss pills. Again, is mainly it was used for treating diabetes, right? Like an appetite suppressant. So what it does is that it has an impact on the dopamine levels, which is responsible for a range of different functions, which is why it's able to contribute to that weight management aspect, right? And it works on your central nervous system. So when you start utilizing something like this, right? You start utilizing a medication such as this. You have to look at it first and foremost that our body is one big electrical and chemical process, right? And if you start taking medication for something that either is stopping your body from producing something abnormally or it's increasing something that your body is already doing, yeah, you know what? Is gonna alter some things else, right, that you got going on. Especially again, if you're taking this medication and it's made for diabetes and you don't have diabetes, right?
Right.
So if he's being utilized as an appetite suppressant, right, Ozempic is gonna change and alter your attitude and your relationship with food, which is going to in turn or subsequently alter some social behaviors and personality traits. So yeah, I can perfectly see why individuals is starting to impact, depression or anxiety and all these other different mood components. Yeah, I'm not surprised about this. Right? When you start taking things as you call like these when these wonder drugs come out, right? Yeah, you're gonna start seeing if it's gonna impact in one area of your life or one part of your body, then there's gonna unfortunately some of these other different psychological based side effects. And we're starting to see this more and more, not even just with Ozempic, but you see it with other different medications where it contributes to an increase in impulsivity, right? Like I've seen medications that a side effect is impulsive gambling, right? Like
Right.
it's real. So I'm not too surprised about the Ozempic personality that is now coming to light and more people are starting to struggle with.
Yeah. I mean, listen, this is just somebody that is taking side effects from a medication, right? And basically, like, I'm not trying to be, this is a complete oversimplification. I'm not saying it's not a problem, but every medication has side effects, right? You heard the commercials where the reading the side effects is longer than the commercial, right? And all of the things that they described are basically just symptoms of depression, right? Plus anxiety. So, okay, take the Ozempic out of the picture, right? And go to any rehabilitation center where people are for months, right? And fighting substance use, and you'll see some of these same symptoms, right? Go to an eating disorders clinic. You see where I'm going with this? You will see the
Mm-hmm.
same symptoms of anxiety, depression. Go to post operational unit where people are recovering from major surgeries. You'll see the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really think I don't really think that there's too much to kind of see here, right? Again,
You
I
know what
think
I?
one of the most interesting there was things they were talking about is the ability of some of these, the potential of some of these drugs to kind of treat substance use.
Yeah.
So I thought that part was interesting.
But
And
you know, like,
also,
yeah, go ahead.
no, just to tie it in with what you said, to bring it back, right? Remember, the purpose of these drugs was to treat diabetes, right? And I think a lot of people are misinformed the same way they're misinformed about like antidepressants sometimes, right? Because people want to lose weight so bad that they don't understand that as soon as like if they're taking this drug to lose weight, right, then they literally have to be in therapy and changing their lifestyle at the same time, right? Because the minute you stop taking this drug, your appetite increases and it comes back, and you're likely to gain weight. The same way if you're taking this, for diabetes, again, you'll see changes in your blood sugar when you stop taking it. So I again, I'm not going to go and say doctors don't do a good job explaining it. I don't, I don't know, I'm not in the office, but I'm gonna just say that when people leave, they don't necessarily have a good understanding of, you know, the fact that it should be a temporary thing that they should be weaning themselves off of. So, and that's all I'm gonna really say about it. But
It's anytime you have these type of situations where you have, especially when it comes into weight loss, right? I feel like every decade there's like a new intervention as far as
yeah,
like like I remember like 15 years ago there were like there was this other diet pill that I remember it came to Philly. And this was around
I,
like 2005, 2006. I don't know if it was in Jersey or not, but bro, when I mean like these new diet pills came out, and I mean everybody, like you started seeing people making like I've seen, generally speaking, it was women, but like bro, like I remember just like a lot of homegirls that I saw were just like shedding pounds significantly,
right.
and they
With
were
some
going to the
diet
same
pills.
place, yeah, and these pills were costing like whatever amount of money. And but I also remember some of my homegirls saying that like the side effects were an increased heart rate, right? Like all these other different side effects, and some of them were like, yeah, I be having difficulty sleeping, like the insomnia and anxiety and depression. Where some of them like this is what comes along with it, right? Anytime it's a situation where you talk about an appetite suppressant and it's affecting all these other different aspects, things that are like this comes along with the territory, right? They find a lot of times they'll find these medications either as being used to treat another medical ailment or they find something by accident, right? Like it was the same way how they found out about Viagra. Like Viagra was discovered by accident. It was a heart medication. Then they found out like, oh my gosh, it's giving people erections. So we'll
Yeah,
just utilize it for this. But
right,
like we know that weight loss is a $1 billion industry, right?
very
We
much.
know that. So anytime that they're going to be able to utilize this and say, hey, even though this is used to treat diabetes, we can utilize it and finagle it, and then we can, bro, like this is where we are. And here's the thing, even with, and I don't want to say like I'm blaming individuals that are taking this, but even I really believe that like even if you have the medical professional like, hey, these are the side effects, depression, anxiety, but all these other different things, they're still gonna take it, right? Because when you're looking at a kind of like a cost benefit type of situation. You have individuals that want to lose weight and they're like, yo, if I can get it, if I can take this and this is gonna, you know what I mean,
It's
get me
worth
the results
whatever
that I'm
happens.
looking for,
Yeah,
I'll take the depression, I'll take the anxiety.
yeah, I get
Simple.
it,
That's just what
man.
it is. You know what I
I
mean?
get it. But I
Like
just
that's
think,
just,
bottom line is, I mean, I guess last thing I'll say about it is like, it's just important. Like I said, it's analogous to, I think, how people treat the antidepressants at times, right? Um, and anti-anxiety medication, a lot of things, right? A
mhm.
lot of the medications aren't, intended for you to be on them forever. But I don't think people really make the lifestyle choices along with taking the medication that is required. And sometimes, the providers probably don't explain it well enough. So,
Listen, they see you can lose X, Y amount of pounds in a very short period of time. And you know, and I know that individuals, generally speaking, individuals are going to take whatever the path of least resistance, right?
right,
On
right.
the front end. Now, if I got to deal with some nightmares, I mean, how many medications were they saying, hey, you know what I mean? Night terrors are part of the side effects, unfortunately.
That's a
People
lot,
will lose
man.
a lot of them, right? But they're gonna
Yeah,
unfortunately, hey, I'm gonna deal with these night terrors if I'm gonna be able to get into this dress by in a couple weeks.
yeah,
Just is
man.
what it
I
is.
mean, we got to be smart. People got to be smart consumers too. I mean, I get it. A lot of the responsibility falls on the provider, but you also
Mm-hmm.
got to be a smart consumer too. You know,
Absolutely. And I think Ozempic, because it's only FDA approved to treat diabetes, I don't think that comes with the warning with like the anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation. And so that's another thing. Like they can a lot of these medications and with the FDA approval and with the language, like, as much as you know, bro, they get around some of these things. Like they're able to get around, oh well, this that because of how they're able to word and it's scary out here, bro.
yeah,
Scary,
man.
you
Got to
know.
be,
So
we got to be curious, intellectually curious customers. Let's just say that.
absolutely, absolutely, and this is your help, guys. I mean, we're it's absolutely important that when taking any type of new medication, I get it. Like I get the attractiveness of anything that can especially help you lose weight. And even if you're doing it for not just, vanity reasons, you're doing it for health reasons, right? I understand it, right? Like you want to be able to, especially if it's something that you might have struggled with. Totally. I understand you make an informed decision, but just be careful, right? Read the side effects, understand what you're taking. And as Jay mentioned, guys, like it's really important that you ask the questions: is this is for long term use and able to stop, and all these other different things, right? Like if you do stop, doing it with the guidance of a medical professional, right? Because that's another thing people I think is there's a misconception where they probably just stop doing the Ozempic treatments due to whatever reason, and then like you said, this is where you have like these abrupt weight gain or other different acute onset of symptoms. So just be careful, y'all. Educate yourself. All right, it's important. It's your body. You only get one of them. You know. Jay, anything else before we get out of here, good brother?
Nah, man, just we want to thank everybody for hanging in with us, and we're gonna keep the content coming, and we got some new topics coming very soon.
Yes, sir. Yes. Appreciate everybody continuing to lock in with us. Continuing to tell people we've absolutely seen an increase in the subscribers, so we appreciate that. So continue to support. We appreciate the feedback. Keep it coming, guys. We don't, we're not here without y'all continuing to support us and watch. So, all right, Jay. For anything else, brother, enjoy your week. Keep engaging in that self care. Baseball season, playoff baby is upon us, brother. Yeah.
That's right, man. That's right.
Yeah.
We're gonna see. Hopefully we'll meet
Meet
up in the big one,
meet up in that World Series, baby. That fall dance.
All right,
All right,
bro.
y'all.
I'll holler at you soon, man.
All right, brother.
All right, later.